Hello, Ben. You alright today?
Hello, Earthman.
Oh yeah, it's nice to see you. You have anything nice for your dinner?
No, I haven't eaten yet, but
Oh,
everything's fine.
okay. Well, I'm sure you've got something nice planned for your dinner. What about earlier today? Did you get up to anything exciting? Enjoy any of the nice weather we're having? Anything like that?
Yes, the weather is fine. A perfect day to be avenged.
I see. Well, yes. I suppose yes. It would be a good day to be avenged. What would you need to avenge exactly? I'm not quite following that necessarily.
We will be avenged for your unprovoked attack, Earthman.
Me? I ain't done nothing. I ain't done nothing. What are you talking about?
Oh, sorry, are you not Captain Scarlet?
No.
Oh, sorry.
No. You've got me mixed up with it. Yeah, I know it's the red shirt. It confuses people. I know.
You're not Paul Metcalf. Oh,
No,
okay.
I'm not. No.
Sorry.
No. He's a nice guy though. He's a nice guy. I'm sure if you met him, you'd get along just fine.
We have accidentally avenged at the wrong number. Please call the Mr. On customer service line to register a formal complaint.
And scene. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Security Hazard Show. It's a podcast which Colonel White would most definitely not consider an operational based. It's very much a rest center.
That is true. And your host is a man who left his car parked in a missile base. Sadly, it was destroyed by Skyship 1, but now he's parked his new car on the London Car View. I'm sure nothing will happen to it there. He's Jack Knoll, everybody.
Oh, I have an excellent choice in parking spaces. Yes. Now, during his college years, they called him the Yellow Fox Tanker. I don't know why, but it's Ben Wolfpage.
I don't know why either. What are we doing on the show today, Jack? I have a feeling we have a lot to get to.
Well, if you haven't noticed already, it's a bit of a Captain Scarlet themed episode today.
What?
Yeah, funnily enough, because tomorrow, July 10th, is considered to be Captain Scarlet Day. And I'm sure that the official Jerry Anderson social medias and everything will do a big celebration of Captain Scarlet Day. But we're doing something quite unique today. We are going to be ranking every single Captain Scarlet episode, all 32 episodes from the original Supermarionation TV series, but doing it with a slight twist, because this isn't going to be my ranking or your ranking. It's actually going to be the ranking from the viewers, because this is a bit of a long-winded story, and I'll try to keep it brief. Back in 2017, for the 50th anniversary of Captain Scarlet, which I can't believe was 8 years ago. That's ridiculous. But anyway, on Security Hazard, to celebrate the 50th anniversary, I reviewed the top 5 most voted for episodes of Captain Scarlet, and I wrote up my full episode reviews. And in order to determine what the 5 most voted for episodes were, I conducted a poll of every episode, and I basically asked asked Security Hazard readers which 5 episodes did they want me to review. And what I've never done is gone into the results of that poll, and I've never really properly sat down and tried to understand what people voted for and why and how things related to one another. So I thought we'd do that today, and that would be the ranking that we share with everyone, and you and we can pass our judgment on it and see whether the security hazard readers of 2017 knew what they were talking about.
Exactly.
So,
it feels like the perfect way to celebrate Captain Scarlet, doesn't it? Because it's such a hierarchical show. I feel like ranking things is, the right way to go. It
feels important to do it that
yes.
way. Yeah. Yeah. No, it makes a lot of sense. So, and of course it means we get to talk about the whole series. We're like, well, we don't want to just pick one episode to review or anything like that. Let's talk about everything. And of course, lots of people, since I did those 50th anniversary reviews, one of the number one questions I get asked is always, when are you going to review the rest of the series?
When are you getting around to that, Jack?
When am I getting around to it? Well, let's put it this way. Right now, I'm a quarter of the way through Space Precinct. So,
all right.
I'm on the right path.
I think your priorities are absolutely 100% correct there. I would definitely put Space Precinct ahead of Captain Scarlet in the review.
Yeah, sure. I don't think anyone would disagree with you on that. I'm sure that's a universal opinion right there. Oh, dearie me.
Man.
Right, okay. Let me because up on screen, for those of you watching us on YouTube, you will get a tasty little visual today. So let me get that set up. And I've set it up as if it's something really impressive. It isn't. It is, in fact, just a tier maker.
Oh, yes. We know these well from some live streams that you've done in the past.
Yes.
The ideal way to rank anything.
Exactly. So, well, we're going to go from the bottom of the list all the way to the top. Okay.
All right. Let's do it.
Just to give you some numbers to dig into here. So this poll was conducted between August 11th and August 20th, 2017. And the question that respondents were specifically asked for was to nominate 5 of the 32 episodes, or I should say up to 5 of the 32 episodes to be reviewed on the Security as a blog. Now, that might not necessarily translate into what's your favorite episode, but I think it's a pretty good indication that these are the episodes that people like. So, take it with that. A total of 484 votes were cast, which I think rounds to about 100 people who took part in this poll. So we're basing this off of the opinions of about 100 people.
All of them presumably hardcore Captain Scarlet fans.
I would expect so. If they're coming to the Security Has a Blog at all, the chances are they know their Jerry Anderson and they know their Captain Scarlet quite well.
Yes.
So, without any further ado, the least popular Captain Scarlet episode, which
drum roll, please.
Definitely number 32 on the list. It got 3 votes, 0.62% of the vote.
Oof.
It was Codename Europa.
That is harsh.
I mean, something's got to come down there.
That's true.
Honestly, I didn't necessarily expect it to be this one. I wonder why it was, though.
To me, I mean, I tend to, when I rank Captain Scarlet episodes, I tend to put them in 3 categories. That is, like, the really good episodes of Captain Scarlet, the bad episodes of Captain Scarlet that I really don't like, and then there's, like, a big mass in the middle that's like, yeah, it's all right. And for me, Codename Europa just kind of, like, disappears into that mushy middle, where it's like, I can vaguely recall it, but it's not like it's not a standout episode enough to be good, and it's also not a standout enough to be bad. So
yeah, I think that's
quite
the
understand.
problem.
Yeah,
I think it got lost at the very bottom. I mean, 3 people did vote for it, so three people thought that it was worthy of wider discussion. But yeah, I have to say it's not one I revisit very often. I don't. The only thing I remember about it distinctly is a deleted scene that I remember reading about, where the way that the Mistron agent gets killed is. The way that the Mistron agent disposes of his original body is under a lawnmower, a robot lawnmower.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they cut that from the episode.
Presumably that wasn't filmed.
I don't
It was
know.
cut
I
at the
honestly don't know.
script stage?
I've read about
Interesting.
it. I think it's in the Jerry Anderson episode guide by Chris Bentley. Fantastic book. So yeah, I don't know whether it was filmed or not. I can't really imagine it if it was filmed, but you know, pretty
Yeah.
grisly stuff. Yeah, definitely.
Well, maybe if that had been added, more people would remember this episode and vote
Yeah.
for it.
I think so. Now, next up with 4 votes and 0.83% of the vote, we have it's the launching.
Okay.
Launching, which I would have thought would come higher.
That's definitely, upper middle tier for me, the launching.
Right.
It has some good suspense to it.
Yeah.
The Mr. villain is not stupid, which is always a good.
He actually has some charisma and personality about him, which is nice.
Yeah.
I like the twist.
Mhm.
I like that. I think that's, although it's a classic one of those things that Spectrum probably should have thought about, that it would be the ship rather than the president. It kind of makes sense to me.
That works better for me than the infamous Place of Angels, Los Angeles thing, because that's we'll get to that.
We will get to that one.
There's definitely worse examples of that sort of thing in Captain Scarlet than the launching. So I'm surprised that only got 4 votes, but again, maybe it just sort of doesn't stick in the memory for most people.
Yeah, maybe that's it. I think it is pretty memorable. I think it's got.
I think so too. I love the christening ships episodes. Whether that's Thunderbirds or Scarlet.
Yeah, always good fun. Right, next up, and I think this one probably deserves its spot. I don't know about you, but it's Seek and Destroy.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, it's just too much time spent with just planes flying around shooting at each other.
Yeah, that is true. I like the idea of it. I like the thought of the evil angel interceptors that are black and unpainted. It just seems like a good idea, but then in practice, I agree that there's a lot of, it's just kind of a drag. The dogfights are a bit of a disappointment for me personally, considering how much good aerial material there is in other episodes. But again, more middle of the road, maybe towards the bottom of the middle. So somewhere in the 20s, if I had to rank them.
Yeah.
Incidentally, this was the inspiration for the name of a podcast that my friend Adam Luff did called Keep and Destroy, which I think you can still find on YouTube, old episodes of it, where he had various Jerry Anderson fans come on and rank episodes that were their favorites and episodes that were their least favorites. And so Keep and Destroy, a reference to Seek and Destroy there. So go check that out when you get a chance.
Yep. And also the name of an episode of Space Precinct as well.
Yes.
So it all, you see, it all knits together. It all comes
together. A big circle.
Right. Exactly. So Seek and Destroy have 5 votes. We also have a few other episodes that have 5 votes. So I'm going to put them all together now because they technically all kind of rank the same.
All right.
You can destroy. So we have Dangerous Rendezvous, also had 5 votes. Treble Cross also had 5 votes. And Inferno also had 5 votes.
Interesting.
That's a mix of episodes there. That's for sure.
Really is. Which of those is your least favorite of those 3?
My least favorite. That's really difficult. For me, they're as you say, they kind of all fill the middle spot. In a way, for me. But I would say Dangerous Rendezvous. For some reason, I have a feeling it gets a lot of flack for being a bit nonsensical. But I think it's epic. I think it's really exciting.
I just love the Lunarville trilogy as a whole.
Yes, yes.
So
I think some people think it's not a satisfying ending to that trilogy. I disagree.
yeah, I disagree as well. So I would have
Yeah.
ranked that higher. Inferno I like because I like a dark ending.
Yes, yes, yes.
Which is a nice touch.
Yeah,
like
I think
production
possibly
design.
it's a little bit static though. Once they're in that temple, it's kind of like, well, that's where they are, and that's about it. Really, they just sort of wait for the disaster to unfold.
They do. So that's
there is
definitely
that.
it's against.
Yeah.
What about Treble Cross?
Treble Cross, I would probably keep that fairly low, just because I think it's a clever, it's a clever idea. You know, being like, well, what if the Mysterons replicated someone who then came back to life?
Okay.
The problem lies in that whole they came back to life thing.
Right. Yeah, it just doesn't.
It feels like a bit of a cheat. It's sort of like, well, what? Surely you could just do that every week. Just resuscitate the person and then you'd be fine. It's sort of brings
They
up
just
a big
didn't have
flaw.
time to grapple with those big ideas in Captain Scarlet. They just brush up against like really crazy ideas that are like, whoa, that you could do a whole feature film in the Captain Scarlet universe based on that idea. But not having enough time, it's a bit of a failure. But ambitious.
Yeah. Exactly. Ambitious. Yeah, there we go. Next up, we have with 6 votes, and I'm going to start moving up a tier.
All right.
The groupings of these episodes is very kind of arbitrary. I've kind of done it based on the number of votes and things like that. But the next one up in 26th place with 6 votes and 1.24% of the vote is the episode Traitor.
What do you like about Traitor, Jack?
What do I like about Traitor? I mean, the Spectrum hovercraft.
Yeah, also
the
Spectrum
woefully underused Spectrum hovercraft, which
it's very sad that we don't get
a really cool looking vehicle.
I would
not
love
sure
a
of
toy
the
of
practical, not sure of the practical purpose of it whatsoever. Why does Spectrum need a fleet of hovercraft, particularly?
To get across the English Channel, maybe.
Apparently so, but they have aircraft carriers and stuff like that, don't they? In the comic,
yeah, it's true.
Things like that. So it's a little bit. It feels like, oh, we're just going to have this hovercraft training center, just because it's a cool setting. But I like
cool setting and some cool effects. It's nice to see Spectrum as more of a global organization. Always cool to see. And the same as in Thunderbirds and the Imposters, where they expand the canvas a little bit, and you're like, oh, there's much more going on than we normally see. That's always great. As a story, there's not much like suspense about like who the traitor is, the way I remember it. Anyway.
Yeah, I remember that there is a chunk of the episode where the story basically just runs out, and they go, right, let's have a quick flashback to the first episode. Just to remind everyone why we're here. It seems so randomly dropped in.
So maybe this one is placed about where it should be, according to us?
I think so. There is a lot to like about it, but I think compared to other things, it's sort of, just kind of average.
I'm good with that.
Or slightly lower than average, Now, this next one, I am very surprised isn't lower, just because of the nature of it. But with 7 votes in 25th place, it's the Inquisition.
Okay.
Now, that's odd.
Odd in what sense?
It's a clip show.
It is a clip show. Shouldn't the launching be higher than a clip show? Shouldn't Seek and Destroy be higher than a clip show, perhaps?
Yeah. Now, this could be, one line of argument could be that because this original viewer poll was asking about which episode would you want Security Hazard to review, maybe people pick the Inquisition because, well...
It's essentially a cheat. You can talk about
I could talk about multiple episodes. Even though, well, we'll reveal in the top 5, but many of those episodes are featured in the Inquisition, so it doesn't really work.
No.
But yeah, I mean, how do we, as a clip show, how do we rate the premise of it in general?
I like the idea of it. It's not the best clip show, but it's, you know, it's probably in the middle as far as Jerry Anderson clip shows, I guess.
Yeah,
I like Captain Blue is on a film studio. That's not a bad
Yeah.
idea. It's not the worst way to do it.
It's a nice kind of eerie, just different, just kind of a different setting and a different way of going about things. It's the Mysterons being incredibly elaborate for what they're trying to do. You wonder, why are they trying to get the Spectrum cipher codes when they are able to build a perfect replica of cloud-based central control?
I'm just having flashbacks to last time when we had to watch Reflections in the Water.
Yeah, similar thing. Similar thing. How
Similar
did they
ideas.
figure it out? How like these aliens claim they need more information when they can already build a scale replica of the
You could make an argument that they also administered some drugs to Captain Blue, so he wasn't really able to. He was sort of hallucinating it partially to sort of complete the picture, but of course they don't talk about that or do that on screen. That's just me retconning that episode.
Right.
In a way that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
who knows? I'm surprised to see it at that place on the list. Though.
Yeah. I think if it wasn't a clip show and the entire premise was about Captain Blue getting kidnapped and taken to a replica of Cloud Base, then that would be pretty cool, and that would probably be quite a memorable episode. So for the, 4-5 minutes of new material, it ranks well for that, but then everything else is just, it's just usual clip show problem where we've seen it. We've seen it. Yep. Interesting that Inquisition and Traitor are next to each other, considering they both rely heavily on flashbacks.
Yes.
So maybe there's some logic to that. Next up, we have a group of 3 episodes that all got 8 votes. So I'm going to put those together. One of them is Operation Time. The other is Renegade Rocket.
Hey.
And another one is Expo 2068.
Wow.
Now, I really like Operation Time.
I really like Expo 2068.
Neither of us have much to say about Renegade Rocket, then.
I really don't like Renegade Rocket. I don't understand
like
the point of them risking their lives trying to guess the Wordle of the day.
Yeah.
When they could just let the base be destroyed and
fundamentally don't understand the ending of that episode. Somehow, Colonel White saying 0 was enough to trigger the detonation of the rocket.
I thought it was just an accident. I thought they just got lucky.
Could be.
Someone in the chat explain this episode to us.
Yeah, I really don't understand the way it ends. But yeah, you're right. Why do they risk it? Like, the base has been evacuated, hasn't it, at that point?
Yeah, the base is already evacuated. Blue and Scarlet are left behind, just trying to guess the word.
Just to guess the word and try and defend it. Yeah,
and they very heroically say they get orders to leave, to abandon the base, and very heroically they sit there trying to save the base.
Yeah,
and it doesn't jibe with the rest of the Anderson shows and their reverence for life and the importance of life over property.
Yeah, exactly.
Total tonal whiplash.
Yeah.
But those other 2 on the list are both episodes that I like. Expo 2068 probably more than Operation Time, because Operation Time, again, a sort of Place of Angels vibe where there's a clever, or like Big Ben Strikes Again, a clever twist that's really only clever if you don't know what it is. Exactly.
Yeah, the rest of the time you're just like, well, you're just wasting. Funnily enough, you're just wasting our time.
But
Yeah.
there's a lot of good stuff in there. There's a lot of like the surprise of, oh, you've killed Captain Scarlet. Spoiler alert.
Yes. Yes.
Is a nice, lovely moment.
And
Expo 2068, I love because it's Canada. And it just
okay.
has, like, it's a great Captain Scarlet death sequence as well. I'm always happy when Captain Scarlet gets to use his powers.
Yes. I don't remember exactly why they end up flying helicopters around at the end.
They're trying to defuse a bomb. I think the Mysterons are using a bomb to do something. Something nasty.
Yeah. Well, sometimes that's enough. Sometimes it is as simple as that. Yeah. No, fair enough. No, I mean, I would say I would rank Operation Time higher, but I wonder whether that's because it holds significant. It starts a story arc in that they figure out that high voltage electricity is the only thing that can kill Mysterons.
Yeah.
That is like, that feels significant, and there is a payoff to that later on. So
true, but there's
for that
also
reason,
a lot of...
it sort of feels significant. Yeah.
They also just kill Mysterons with whatever when the plot demands it. So
well, exactly.
It sort of undercuts the drama.
This is the problem, isn't it? Yeah, they just ever so slightly let it go. Yeah, definitely. Now, in 21st place with 9 votes, 1.86% of the vote, it's The Trap.
All right.
Now, it's not an episode I'm massively fond of, but I know that people hold it in quite high regard.
Yeah. There's too much live action inserts for me.
That's a very specific problem that you've got with it.
Yeah, I just feel like there's a whole act of the episode that doesn't work if you don't have all the live action inserts. But I'm a sucker for the Scottish Jerry Anderson episodes.
Yeah.
Whenever they go to Scotland and play the Barry Gray Scottish music, I'm a fan.
Yeah. Well, that's it. It has a really nice, distinctive, memorable setting.
It does.
And it's I think quite a classic Captain Scarlet plot, really.
Yeah. And a guest character who's not a Mysteron. And is also not a member of Spectrum. I mean, a strong character there. So
yeah, that's good. Yeah, but yeah, no, just the idea of the Mysterons are going to kill this important group of people. Mm-hmm. That's pretty much as standard as you can get for a Captain Scarlet episode. So I just would have thought it would be a little bit higher. And it's got the Magnacopter in it as well, which I think is quite a
nice craft.
A cool craft. A little bit impractical, maybe, having a sort of taking a passenger airliner and going, what if it was a helicopter?
I mean, we need one of those to do like a Jerry Anderson locations tour. Just go around the UK/Portugal.
Yeah. Landing on the Slough trading estate in the Magnacopter.
with a Magnacopter full of Anderson fans, that would be ideal.
That would be lovely. Wouldn't that be great? Oh, no. Right. Next up...
Wild Eye Archive says that the jetpack fight is classic, which I agree with that.
It is classic. Yeah. No, that jetpack fight is really, really very good. So, yeah, I'm surprised the Trap is that low. I would have put it higher. Maybe not all the way to the top, but certainly
one tier up.
One tier up, at least. Yeah. And finally, for this tier, actually tied with the Trap, is Model Spy.
Okay.
Which I would not put on the same level as the Trap.
I would not either. I definitely wouldn't put it any higher than that, though.
No, I wouldn't. It's not a... It doesn't feel like a significant episode. I think by its nature... it's difficult to kind of be sold on the idea that the Mysterons would target this one man who may well be a Spectrum agent, but he is also a fashion designer. It's different. It's very different, and I kind of like a little bit of that, it's Spectrum kind of off-duty situation.
Sure.
Relaxing on the French Riviera is always a pleasant place to be when you're watching an Anderson show. That's always nice.
Mhm.
But yeah, definitely a little bit flimsy. And the Mr. goal at the end of it becomes a little bit muddy, whether they want to kill Verdun or keep him alive gets muddled up. So
Yeah. It feels like a bit of a lost opportunity because you have some female characters. It's pretty rare in Captain Scarlet that you have female characters talking to each other, but then they immediately get turned into Mysterons, and it's like, well, it could have been interesting.
Yeah.
But it's not really. It's sort of the equivalent of like Alias Mr. Hackenbacker. Not to keep comparing Captain Scarlet to Thunderbirds, but
there's a lot. I think that's totally fair enough. There is definitely a lot of Captain Scarlet episodes that share strong parallels with certain Thunderbirds episodes as well. So I think that's a fair comparison to make.
It's hard not to. It's hard not to.
It's hard not to, exactly. Right, we're gonna jump up a tier now. With it, so we're very much kind of in the middle of things now, with 11 votes, tied for 19th place.
Okay,
we have The Heart of New York and Flight 104.
Okay.
The Heart of New York is nonsense. It's absolute nonsense, okay? Where these guys aspire to pretend to be Mysterons and use that as a way of robbing the Second National Bank of New York.
I mean, who among us can say that they haven't thought about robbing the Second National Bank of New York by pretending to be Mysterons?
Sure. And Spectrum just kind of let it all happen.
Yeah.
Their security that is supposed to be super tight suddenly just isn't.
Mm-hmm.
All that being said, I love it. It's so mad and so stupid, but it's such a what if this happened kind of episode that I have to admire it just because it's different.
Yeah.
My
beef with this episode, again, me being nitpicky about a small thing, a relatively small thing, is at the very end, Captain Black just disappears into a brick wall.
Yeah.
Which is a power that he, I think, only demonstrates that one time.
He does it also in Inferno.
That's fair.
He climbs to the top of the statue and then disappears at the end.
Or does
it as well?
Does it happen at the end of Model Spy as well?
Yep, happens in Model Spy as well. Once they figured out they could do it, they do start using it because let's be honest, it's the perfect way for a writer to get out of a difficult spot.
I think it's nonsense because it's just a way for a writer to get out of a difficult spot.
Yes.
There's nothing else to it. However, I do like the idea that the Mysterons are somewhat moral, that they have like a code that they practice, and that certain people don't fit the code. It has a nice message at the end where Colonel White is basically like, people are basically good, even though these three Jokers weren't. So that's sort of an interesting moral setup.
Yeah, and I like that. It's the whole reason why the Mysterons and Captain Scarlet is intriguing as a show and as a setup, as a concept. It's definitely the fact that the Mysterons initially, at the beginning of the very first episode, are keen to welcome humanity and be nice and play nice and everything. But humanity fires first, and so it all goes wrong from there, and the rest of it is just revenge for the crimes that were done against them.
What would playing nice with the Mysterons even look like?
I mean just leave them alone, I think.
They're so different from us. Their life as we don't know it. How would you even... What would a healthy relationship with the Mysterons even look like? It's such a...
I mean, It's a good concept. I would say, well, there's a lot for humanity to gain out of that relationship, obviously, because Mr. technology and Mr. powers are so advanced, and as you can say, people being able to disappear into thin air. If we could learn a little bit about how all that works, and obviously retrometabolism would be
That would definitely save me at work on a Friday if I could.
It
just
definitely
disappear.
would. Just disappear into thin air. Yeah. Now, what the Mistrons would gain out of that relationship, I'm not so sure. Maybe if they particularly wanted physical forms, which it seems like they do, because every episode revolves around them recruiting Mistron agents. So maybe that's kind of what they want, is bodies, I guess.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't know, but there is an interesting kind of line to take there, and as you say, the moral core of the show, I think, is important that elevates it slightly above let's shoot the bad guys kind of situation.
Yeah. So I pretty much agree with the placement of it. The Heart of New York is right about where it should be on this list for me personally. Probably, yeah. What about Flight 104? I can't really remember Flight 104. Don't know what happens in it.
Right.
It's one of those kind of forgettable ones.
It takes a while to get started, that's for sure, because it's basically Captain Scarlet, Captain Blue acting as bodyguards for Dr. Conrad, who is an astrophysicist, and basically they need to transport him to a conference or something, and the whole episode is basically, can they do that without the Mistrons getting him? And these press guys, a reporter and a photographer, kind of get mixed up in the middle of that, and it's just kind of antics, just hijinks.
Isn't that kind of what happens in Winged Assassin? Only Winged Assassin is better, where they're trying to protect their... Yeah.
Okay. Winged Assassin sticks to the point a little bit more. Flight 104 feels like they've just kind of gone on holiday, and they're just having a bit of a nice time. And there's all this business with ordering room service, and and there's some great dialogue in there, between Scarlet and Blue. Would you mind holding the Grand Opera a minute while I order lunch?
Yeah, that's a nice bit. I forgot about that bit. Yeah, I would probably rank this one a little bit lower.
Yeah. I would say it's slightly lower than average. The sequence at the end of it, the plane trying to land at, is it Geneva Airport? They literally take stock footage out of Trapped in the Sky in order to kind of fill up the idea that this plane is coming into land, and for some reason it struggles with landing and things like that. So,
did you know that Trapped in the Sky and Flight 104 were made by the same studio? These are facts you can only get on the Security Hazard show.
Really, I would never have guessed that Captain Scarlet and Thunderbirds were made by the same people.
I know.
How extraordinary to know that. Now, cool facts like that aside, we have to go and look at our 17th place on the list, which I believe basically puts us halfway. This is kind of like right in the middle of the bunch with 12 votes, 2.48% of the vote. It is Fire at Rig 15.
I like to make fun of episodes of Captain Scarlet that have numbers in the title, because it sort of plays into the mechanization of this show versus something that's a lot more warm-hearted, like Stingray or Thunderbirds.
Right.
It just feels sort of like, oh well, we just stuck a number on it.
Yeah. It's
but
like,
also,
why rig 15? Why not rig 28 or rig 112? It's
sort of a way
to care about this particular rig.
It's sort of a way of trying to make it sound cool by adding numbers to it, I guess. But sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Fire at Rig 15 is probably better than I give it credit for. I tend to rank it a little bit lower.
Oh.
But it has a lot of good stuff in it.
No, I love it. I think it's great. That's probably purely because the special effects shot of the fire at Rig 15 is so good.
There's lots of fire. There's an SPV chase, which is always fun.
Yeah, it's just kind of got all the nice actiony bits that are, you know, candy for the eyes. You know, it's just nice to look at. Does the plot make much sense?
It's just kind of lacking.
Don't make much sense.
Some of these episodes have like a really clever, or an attempt at a clever plot device in them, like in Operation Time or The Trap. There's always some kind of like a twist or something. Fire at Rig 15, it feels much more straight ahead to me. Yeah, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but that's definitely a weakness.
Well, I mean, makes sense. It's, as I say, slap bang in the middle of this viewer poll. So
yeah,
maybe
that's fair enough.
Maybe that adds up. Maybe there's some logic there. Next up, in joint 16th place with 13 votes, 2.69% of the vote, we have 0.783, which I can't get
numbers
into the right place. More number, all these numbers in a row: 783, 15, 104. And then also Spectrum Strikes Back, which I think Spectrum Strikes Back is a great episode. I really enjoy that. It's a lot of exposition by its very nature. The whole point is it's basically saying, let's take a whole episode to establish we've got 2 new devices for defeating Mysterons.
When I did Adam Luff's show Keep and Destroy, I picked Spectrum Strikes Back as an episode to destroy. I can't stand Spectrum Strikes Back.
Oh no!
So we are in disagreement on that.
Well, summarize for me then. What's the problem?
I don't like the bit with the house. I think that's a terrible cliffhanger. Why would you build a house that just comes down on top of you with no safety mechanism whatsoever? There's no like way to stop it if it goes down. Also, why does it go so slow? It doesn't make any sense.
Because
the
tension,
security,
man.
The security of, well, you can't just say tension and make tension happen. That's not how that works. You have to build up tension.
You're right. You're right.
Captain Black just waltzes in and kills Captain Indigo with no preamble. Despite all the security.
Yeah.
All the stuff with the Mysteron gun and the Mysteron detector is a great idea, but they don't use it. It's not a fundamental part of the show.
Right. The gun is never seen again.
Right.
I'm pretty sure. The detector does turn up a few more times, but
it does.
Yeah.
But still.
Sure.
I find that attempt to be frustrating.
Yeah. But
now give me the rebuttal. Why do you like it so much?
All the Mr. Lion, Mr. Bear, all that business is very sweet.
That's true.
You know, using a Mysteron detector on a duck at the end is cute. And I like the house coming up and down because I think as a kid, you always want your house as a kid, particularly if you watch Jerry Anderson shows, you want your house to do cool things. Yeah, that's definitely one of them. The idea that your house can go up and down and reveal, something interesting underneath. Admittedly, it's not that interesting, I suppose. Yeah, no, I think it's unnecessarily elaborate and unnecessarily dangerous, but that's why it appeals to a child anyway. It had a lot of appeal to me. So I like Spectrum Strikes Back because of its unique setting. I also like the stuff on Cloud Base at the beginning. That's just sort of like everyone's a bit like, well, what do we do now that Captain Scarlet, Blue, and Colonel White are not here? You know, what do we do about that? And everyone's just kind of hanging out. Yeah.
I don't agree with you, but I see your point.
Okay, well, fair enough. We don't have to agree on everything. We don't. We really don't. 0.783.
Do we agree on that?
For me, quite a forgettable episode, I have to say.
Yeah,
it's just a tank. It's just a tank. That's all it is.
I think I'm partially distorted in my opinion of this because there's so many. It feels like there's 2 Joe 90 episodes that are basically this, and one Secret Service episode that are basically this.
Yes.
Where it's a tank that goes out of control by accident and is killing people and the hero then has to stop the tank. It's sort of like very generic.
Yeah.
But I guess it is in the middle on this list. So
yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think it's right to sit in the middle, but I would maybe put it a bit lower.
I would as well. I don't have much funness for
there
it.
There is a problem I have, and I don't know if it's the same for you. A lot of Captain Scarlet episodes take place in the middle of the desert. They like using that desert setting.
Yes.
And it does make everything a little bit samey.
Yeah, I think that's part of my...
Traitor would be one of them, 0.783, Fire Rig 15.
Yeah.
Even Spectrum Strikes Back to an extent, and I'm sure there's others as well.
Both of those episodes, 7, 8, 3, and 15, being number episodes, also counts against them for me. And the two of them both being number episodes that are set in the desert, I'm never going to remember which one's which.
Okay,
unfortunately.
Fair enough. Yeah, it all kind of gets a little bit muddled in there.
I'm a bit biased against Captain Scarlet because it's not one that I watched as much as a kid. So that influences my thinking as well. The personal nostalgia plays a big role in
I specifically, Spectrum Strikes Back is memorable to me because it was on a VHS tape with, I want to say, 2 episodes of Thunderbirds 2086.
Wow.
And the only way of watching those 2 episodes of Thunderbirds 2086 was to first sit through a Captain Scarlet episode. And it was Spectrum Strikes Back. So I probably watched, because I think as an 8-year-old, I had a fascination with Thunderbirds 2086. The idea that you could do Thunderbirds, but different, was fascinating. We need to do a whole...
That's a whole episode.
2086. But in order to watch those 2 episodes, I had to watch Spectrum Strikes Back first. So that's probably why it stands out to me as well. It's just I've probably seen it more times than a lot of other Captain Scarlet episodes. So
yeah, and I could see if you
that in mind.
Weren't taking it so seriously. Perhaps that's the root of my problem, is taking it a little bit too seriously. Maybe it would be a little bit more fun.
Just enjoy the house going up, the hunting lodge going up and down. Just enjoy that, Ben. You know? Anyway, let's go to our next episode. I want to give this special spotlight. Even it's tied with something else, but I'm gonna let it stand alone for a minute because you mentioned it earlier. It's Place of Angels with 15 votes. You said you have a problem with this episode.
I do have a problem with it. Maybe it wasn't as well known then, and maybe it's my country of origin, but everybody knows that Los Angeles means the place of angels.
Right.
It's not that tricky of a mystery to figure out if you've spent time in America or LA, which I think a lot of people have, presumably a lot of people involved with Spectrum. That's sort of a key flaw. However, I do genuinely like this episode a lot. I like there's an episode of The Protectors that has a similar germ warfare subplot, which I like quite a bit. It's called Balance of Terror, I believe.
Okay. Yes.
So it's always a great climax. Sylvia Anderson gives probably her best performance in Captain Scarlet as the guest character in this episode.
Yeah.
It's a rare example of a writer and a director in Leo Eaton, who wrote and directed it, I believe.
Yes.
It's just off the top of my head, so I could be wrong.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure you're
but
right.
So it has a lot going for it as an episode.
Yeah.
So
it's right about I do like it. I think it's probably in just about the right place for me there. It's one of those ones that's like, it's okay, and it's probably leaning towards good, but maybe as you say, that revelation, the city of Los Angeles
yes
feels very I don't know. Like, Spectrum probably should have thought about that sooner. Now, I would say, again, watching it as a kid, not knowing not being intimately familiar with the geography of the United States, sure, I wouldn't have necessarily made that connection between Place of Angels and City of Los Angeles.
Sure. And I would have been
yeah.
13 or 14 at the youngest when I saw that. So that definitely plays into it. Me feeling like it's a little bit silly.
You're
If I'd
kind of
seen it when I was
uniquely
7 or 8.
positioned. Yeah.
Yeah. If I was 7 or 8, I would have gone along with it a bit more for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, fair enough. Now, tied with Place of Angels, we also have Noose of Ice.
How do you feel about Noose of Ice, Jack?
It would have been one of the last ones I ever saw as a kid, so I don't necessarily have like massively fond memories of it. But I like a snowy episode. I like a snowy episode of anything. I think the special effects team always rose to the challenge as far as providing fake snow and things like that. The idea of ice freezing around a tower and therefore destroying it feels a bit silly. Maybe it's explained in the episode. I don't really understand what the hotspot tower is actually for.
I believe it is for getting them to Mars. Like it's a signal output, but it might have been something to do with mining. Like they needed to mine an element from up there. It's one of those two.
One of those two. Yeah. But it kind of it's good. I like it's a good. Similar to why I like Spectrum Strikes Back, is it's a slow build of tension there, where the ice is encroaching slowly and it's starting to structurally mess with the tower and things like that.
I love Noose of Ice.
You do?
It's one of my favorites. I think it's in my top 10.
All right.
I don't know why. I agree that the tension building is very nice. To me, it's a little bit more credible than Spectrum Strikes Back's tension because they were just dumb in the way they built their house. They didn't have the safety mechanism built in, so that's on them.
It's the fact you always call it a house. It was a hunting lodge. You're like, their house was wrong. But sorry, go
ahead. No, I'm like you. I'm a sucker for a snowy setting. I love the little tractor. It's just great. I love Noose of Ice. Yeah. One of my favorites.
Yeah. Now, is Noose of Ice the one... I get it mixed up with Avalanche a little bit. Is Noose of Ice the one where the guy just sort of gets out of his truck and gets blown over in the blizzard?
I think so.
And you wonder, why did you get out of the truck in the first place? You were perfectly safe in there?
I don't remember it that way, but possibly.
I'm pretty sure that's how it goes.
In Avalanche, the guy is killed by going over the edge.
Right. That one sort of makes sense. Yeah. But Noose of Ice, I do sort of remember thinking, you probably didn't need to die there, actually. Yeah. That probably wasn't necessary, but sure, you got
Iron Crew has corrected me. It's mining tritonium.
Oh.
So thank you, Iron Crew.
Thank you, Iron Crew. And, good.
He also says he got out to enter the booster station. So there you go.
Okay. You see, all right. That makes a bit more sense then. Clearly, you and I were just not paying enough attention.
No, but it's still one of my favorite episodes. So,
well, that's great. Yeah, that's great.
Or not, I just like to put it on, and watch it. It's fun.
I would also, I would say that's about in the right place for me. Now, another snowy setting as we move into our next tier in
what could it be?
Place with 16 votes. It is Shadow of Fear.
Hey,
which I like. I like it as well. I think it's fun. The idea of them getting tantalizingly close to Mars and all of that feels special.
Yeah, and fighting back a little bit against the Mysterons rather than being reactive. Being more proactive is really nice.
Yeah, it's what makes Captain Scarlet as a series kind of unique, is that you have these little moments of Spectrum having, like Spectrum Strikes Back as well. It's like getting these little wins in where they're learning a bit more and they're kind of coming to understand. Unfortunately, none of that knowledge actually comes to anything,
No.
But you can choose to interpret it that way, at least.
And it is a loss for them in the end, isn't it? Don't they lose their base and
they lose their base. I don't think they gain much insight on the Mysterons. Colonel White swears that Project Sword will continue, even though it is never seen or heard of again, except for in a very successful line of toys. Maybe that's all it was ever supposed to be. I don't know, but anyway. Nevertheless, I like Shadow of Fear.
Has some nice horror elements as well. The kind of spooky Mysterons Mysternizing someone via telescope is quite creepy.
Yeah. That's kind of weird. The idea that the Mysterons can make the whole of the planet Mars turn into this glowing orb of doom is quite nice. It
doesn't make sense, but I like it.
Yeah. It doesn't make a bit of sense, but it sort of does something which is never quite sort of explored much in the series, is the idea of Mars and the Mysterons being inherently linked.
Mm-hmm.
Comparing it to something like Terrorhawks, where Zelda and her crew just turn up on Mars and they're just kind of squatting there, waiting to eventually take over Earth.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really explored much in Captain Scarlet, but just the idea that the Mysterons have been there for forever.
Yeah.
And it is their home. And again, in the first episode, when, Earthmen come to visit, it's like, oh yeah, visitors, at last. That's nice. Welcome to our home. Oh wait, you tried to blow us up. We don't like you so much anymore. So I just think there's something interesting in that. Just exploring a little more of the Mysterons actually on Mars. It's a shame we don't go back there properly at any point.
No, we have to rely on new Captain Scarlet for that.
Yeah, which is
they do quite
one of the many strengths of new Captain Scarlet is the fact that they do go into that and they do explore it more. Yeah, definitely.
Agreed.
Right.
What's next?
Next up is an episode I definitely would have thought would be higher. It's Manhunt.
Okay.
I love Manhunt. I think it's great. I think the idea, particularly because it comes quite early in the series, sort of you've had a few episodes of getting to know what the Mysterons are like, and then the focus suddenly turns back to, wait a minute, whatever happened to Captain Black? We should go looking for that guy. And they get this opportunity to go looking for him. Now, the idea that he walked into a nuclear power station and that made him detectable is kind of a bit silly. But I still like it.
Yeah, I like it too. The only thing that kind of deducts from it for me is kind of the conclusion where I forget even which angel it is. Symphony can't drive an SPV. And it's sort of, it's not surprising really, because on these TV shows, people just jump into vehicles and know how to control them. People just hop into planes and know how to fly. You're like, that's kind of, certain vehicles require specific training. So it kind of makes sense, but it feels to me like a bit of an extension of the City of Fire sexism jokes about drivers.
Maybe.
I don't like the way that plays. It feels like a bad ending.
Yeah, it's not quite so blatant though. I mean, it is there, I agree, but it's not quite so on the nose. So yeah,
it's probably the best episode for Captain Black. One of certainly.
Yeah. Oh, I love the scene where he's with Symphony and he says, the Mysterons also have compassion. I'll give you one last chance. It's like, just again plays on that moral dimension that the Mysterons have, which we don't see very often, but when we do, it's pivotal to the whole show, really.
That's true, but he was using her.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he just doesn't kill her.
Right. He didn't kill her because he thought of a way to use her. Yeah. So it's
I agree. It's devious still, but
he's still a nasty piece of work.
Yeah,
forget.
but he doesn't take any pleasure in just flat out killing her, though. Or at least it doesn't serve his purpose to do that. So
yeah.
I just think that even the fact that the Mistrons have the concept of compassion is
intriguing
and interesting. And of course the classic scene in the garage where the Captain Black kills the guy by crushing him in his car.
Without
the opposite of compassion. No compassion whatsoever. I like that. I like the idea that Captain Scarlet and Captain Blue, or certainly Captain Scarlet anyway, can kind of sense that there's something wrong with this guy. And the fact that he twigs, he didn't ask us for identification. Just the fact that there's a clear line of protocol that's supposed to be followed when handing out an SPV. And because this guy didn't follow it, that automatically makes him suspect.
Don't you dare skip the protocol when you're handling an SPV. You will get shot right in
the well, I think it's
a life or death situation.
Really is. Really is. So I like it for all those reasons. Very memorable. I kind of like Symphony going off on her own, disobeying orders a little bit. I think that's fun. I think that makes her character that much more engaging than some of the other angels. They just write her a little bit more. And Lieutenant Green, his whole subplot about really wanting to join in with the manhunt and sort of resenting being stuck on Cloud Base.
That is really nice.
Interesting, and they sort of do come back to that later. There's just little sprinkles of character development in this episode, which is one of those things that Captain Scarlet doesn't necessarily do all that well. It's
something they struggle with,
distinguished from each other and things like that. So I think it's important. So I think Manhunt does a good job for that because it's kind of more character driven.
Well, I would have ranked it a little lower, but you've convinced me.
Oh, good.
To rewatch
because I've been waffling on about it for a while, so I'm glad. I'm glad it serves some purpose. Right. Actually,
what's
next up is tied with Manhunt with 17 votes. It's Avalanche.
Well, I love Avalanche, so
yeah. Well, I love it too. Shane Rimmer's first script for the series, I believe. Lovely Canada setting, lovely snow. Lieutenant Green gets out there in the action.
The pacing of it is perfect, I think. I think sometimes they can feel too slow despite being 30 minutes, where they just don't have a full story completed. Sometimes they can feel too fast where they have too much story. Avalanche just strikes the perfect balance for me. Great episode of Captain Scarlet.
Yeah. The Frostline defense system feels very... I don't know. It feels vast in its scale. The fact it has all these different bases and stuff like that. It just feels very important. You've got the mad general who's going to try and blow up Mars.
Might makes right.
Sort of. Yes, might makes right. Goodness me. Yes, I forgot about that. All of that stuff just plays in really well. Yeah, you've got all the different elements there. I do sort of forget what the Frostline defense system is supposed to do exactly. I don't know why it's a bunch of domes in the snow, but it doesn't really matter.
Missiles?
Yeah. I think that's what it's for. But it's just some domes. Domes in the snow.
Yep.
I thought we'd gotten away from the domes last week in Reflections of the Water, but apparently not.
These are much better domes. They're filled with dry ice.
Yeah.
Also, a ruthless episode. This episode, a lot of death in Avalanche.
Yeah. I love that. And as
wiped out.
We mentioned the death of the Mistron 8, in the snow, getting buried in the snow. That's a grim image, but it's really well
terrifying.
done.
The little hand coming out. Oh man.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
No, some really good visuals and really, definitely deserves to be in that higher up spot for sure.
Yep.
Next up, also tied for 11th place, 17 votes. It's Special Assignment. I agree. I would put that in the middle at best.
I don't like
we've
special
discussed it on the podcast before.
We have, yeah.
It's quite average, isn't it?
I think that's being generous. There's some nice bits in it. I think we talked about before at length. So if you want to know more about it, go back and listen to our episode on Special Assignment. I believe that's the episode 5, episode 4, where we talk about the
episode
SPV.
2.
Oh,
episode
never
2.
mind.
Yeah, SPV versus the Rhino. Yes, we compare Special Assignment to Trap for a Rhino. Yeah.
There's SPV.
Yeah, good SPV action, I suppose, but just, and I suppose I'm trying to work out why this one would appeal to people, especially, or why it stands out. And I suppose,
tell us why.
I suppose the business with Captain Scarlet being fired, if you're watching it for the first time, you're sort of with Captain Blue in that you don't really understand what's happening and why the harsh punishment, and you know, it's unusual in that regard.
Yeah. I don't want to rehash all the reasons I don't like it. We'd be here all day.
Yeah. Fair enough. All right. Well, we'll move on to another episode, which I definitely, when I remember doing this poll in 2017 and thinking, I would have thought that would be in the top 5, but it wasn't.
Okay.
It's Flight to Atlantica.
Flight to Atlantica. Why is that so memorable? Why do you like that one?
Because it's so silly. Because everyone gets drunk.
This is the one with the champagne, right?
It's the one with the champagne, and it's the one where Captain Blue and Captain Ochre go out on a bombing run and kind of mess up.
And you thought it would be in the top 5?
Yeah, because it's silly. It's the funny one. Yeah,
that's true.
It's the funny episode of all the Captain Scarlet episodes. It's the funny one. It's the silly one, and I thought it would stand out for that reason. Now, is it representative of the series as a whole? No, probably not. But I enjoy it immensely. Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to give it another spin. It's not one that I.
Is it really not that memorable to you?
No, I tend to forget about it. I get it mixed up with Codename Europa.
Wow. Okay.
Isn't that dreadful?
You definitely need to rewatch that episode then.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
No, it's definitely one that stands out to me as quite significant.
Okay.
Because it's the Mysterons trying something different as well. It's also where we get Captain Scarlet Day itself, July 10th. So that's,
I think that pops up in a few more episodes, but yeah.
I mean, it probably does, but it's significant in that they're celebrating Spectrum's first anniversary. Right. Yeah. Which is, I mean, I suppose a bit. Again, it's just silly.
It's very
but
silly.
It presents those, again, what's so important is it presents the Spectrum personnel as real people who want to kind of blow off and slack off work for the afternoon because they want to go and have a party, and they're sneaking around Colonel White trying to make sure he doesn't find out. And then when he does find out, he reacts in exactly the way you would expect him to, and all of that stuff. So it feels nice because you get a little bit more time with the characters as well.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I don't really see how Jerry always used to say that Captain Scarlet is a war film. It's a war show. And I don't see where the drunk episode fits into that, but
sure,
I need to give it another chance.
Yeah. All right. Well, I would. Okay. Yes, I would see how if you looked at it that way, it would feel a bit frivolous and pointless. But I don't know. I enjoy it. Definitely one I enjoyed as a kid as well. Yeah. Right. Next up, in tied for 6th place. I'm going to go for both of these at once. Tied for 6th place with 24 votes. It's Winged Assassin and Crater 101.
Oof.
2 very significant episodes of the series. Just by quite a narrow margin, I have to say, missing out on
the top 5
spot.
Yeah.
Where do we start with that? I mean,
I tend to take the Lunarville trilogy as, perhaps it's because of the VHS tapes, but I tend to take it as like one story.
Okay.
And I rank all 3 of them about the same.
Right.
So I don't understand the discrepancies between people's votings of Lunarville 7, Crater 101, Dangerous Rendezvous all over the map.
Yeah.
To me, they're all kind of similar because they're the same story.
Yeah.
Crater 101 is arguably the best of the 2 first parts.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what you're looking for, but yes, I would say it's definitely up there for me.
It's strange that it didn't quite crack the list. Winged Assassin might be, it's hard to say, but it's one of my favorites. It's in my top 5 for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely ahead of some of the episodes that actually made it into the top 5.
Right,
so.
Exactly. Yeah, I think, Winged Assassin is such a good second episode. I think it's important for that reason. Anderson shows, they either do really, really well on the second episode or not very well at all, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And Winged Assassin is definitely the perfect follow-up to the Mysterons because you have Spectrum unsure what to do about Captain Scarlet. Do we bring him back on the team or not? They send him for further medical examination. You have that great scene between him and Dr. Thorne where they finally kind of come to understand what's happening to him.
Yeah.
I think that's really significant and good. The fact that the climax of the episode is so memorable as well, with the SPV chasing down Delta Tango, is so memorable. It's such a good action sequence.
Favorite one of mine, sort of the inverse of Trapped in the Sky, where they're trying to destroy the vehicle rather than save it. Sort of perfectly captures the tone of Captain Scarlet. Also the sheer ruthlessness of it, and the way it ends, where they lose by just a hair's breadth. They almost get away with it, but they don't. It's just perfect for the tone of Captain Scarlet, I think. So I love Winged Assassin.
I do.
Not sure why it didn't quite crack the top 5.
Yeah,
it was really narrow margin.
It's a really narrow margin. So the Crater 101 and Winged Assassin got 24 votes. The 5th place got 25. So there's 1 vote in it. So I mean, it's pretty close. It's pretty close. But in 5th place with 25 votes is Lunarville 7.
Hey.
So I mean, it's basically right next to Crater 101.
Okay. I like the 2 of them together. And I like seeing Mysteron vehicles, Mysteron City. I like the countdown in Crater 101. I like the Miss Nolan subplot in Lunarville 7. The whole, like, the moon is a separate government from the Earth.
Yeah.
Is all strong stuff.
I think the reason why Lunarville 7... I think there's a couple of reasons why Lunarville 7 might have pipped it just above Crater 101. It's a really good setup. Like, it does so much to establish this whole, there are people living on the moon and it's considered a separate entity from the Earth, and all of that stuff is really interesting. The build up to the reveal of the construction of the Mysteron City is perfectly tense and builds up so nicely. And then Lunarville 7 just has a lot of memorable moments. Sid, that whole exchange at the end of the episode where Sid sort of just blows up because the Lunar Controller keeps shooting at him is great. Obviously the Goodnight Orson moment.
Yes.
A little bit of comedy in there. That goes down really, really nicely. There's just something exciting about it. It's like Scarlet, Blue, and Green are going into space. They're going off to the moon.
Which is really nice. Yeah.
Yeah. It feels significant. It feels like a momentous occasion. So
Definitely.
yeah. There's a lot to like there about Lunarville 7.
I think I probably prefer Crater 101 just a little bit, just because I think Sid is a bit silly. The trope of a computer blowing itself up in that way.
Well, it doesn't blow itself up. It gets shot at multiple times because...
Yeah, but it just doesn't work for me. I'm sorry.
Fair enough. I
like the rest
I
of it.
am sorry. I am sorry. Does that not stir anything in you? No, you think that's silly.
No.
Okay, fair enough.
Sorry.
All right. Well, joint third place with 28 votes each.
Okay.
Big Ben Strikes Again and White as Snow. Big Ben Strikes Again. When I saw that vote, I was astonished. I could not believe that got into the top 5.
People who love Big Ben Strikes Again, please write in and tell me why you like Big Ben Strikes Again, because I don't get it. I mean, it's one of those, again, the Place of Angels syndrome, where it attempts to be clever, and it kind of is. If you're in the right,
I think it's really clever. I think it's really clever. I think that is great.
You can, in fact, hear Big Ben strike 13 times.
Yeah.
But
one of the earliest YouTube videos I remember watching is those. You've probably seen the same thing where they try to do that, see if they can test it out. I just think I think it's a neat little idea. I think it is quite clever.
Sure, it's a bit silly, but okay.
But the rest of it,
the
rest of it is not memorable at all.
Yeah. Well, it's just they go to the trouble to build this elaborate cityscape, which looks lovely, but it's deserted. I mean,
doesn't feel like London either.
No, it feels a lot more like New York.
Yeah,
which I think they reuse a lot of the same stuff when they do the heart.
Oh
of New York.
Yeah,
and a lot of it, of course, is in the Misterons. A lot of that cityscape.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. Kind of. It's same as what I said about that desert setting. Any episodes which use that sort of generic city landscape, they all do start to mesh together for me, and I think Big Ben Strikes Again, because it uses it so much, maybe is subject to that as well. It's I think it gets a lot of credit because it is clever with the Big Ben striking 13 thing.
Iron Crew.
You'd also think. Oh, sorry. What does Iron Crew say?
I love it for the atmosphere. Wild Eye Archive says I think it has some of the best cinematography with a great use of light and shadow.
Okay.
These things are true. Iron Crew also says I think people assumed everywhere was going to look like New York in the future.
Right.
Which, thankfully, we're not there yet.
No, that's very good. That's those are all good comments and good plus points for it. Yeah. Okay.
That's
fair
good.
enough.
Thank you for that.
Fair enough. Now, White as Snow.
I understand a little better now. Yeah. White as Snow. Let's talk about White as Snow.
White as Snow. I think is in a good spot there.
I love it.
It's
just a great character bit. There's lots of great character bits.
Yeah.
Lots of great action. A horrifying scene of somebody drowning.
Yes.
All the tropes of a good Captain Scarlet episode are in there.
Yeah. I think what makes certain Captain Scarlet episodes memorable, and the same thing applies to lots of other TV shows as well. For me, it's all about the setting. They have to have some sort of unique, interesting setting in order for you to go, oh, White as Snow is the submarine episode, or Avalanche is the Canada episode, or whatever. It's got to have that unique setting about it to make it feel special, and that is definitely one of them. Obviously, a great episode for Colonel White. Sort of going underground and hiding away from the Mistrons, trying to get him, and Captain Scarlet pulling rank and going after him is all very Yeah,
What
very
what
nice.
pushes it over the top? There's a lot of episodes that all of the episodes of Captain Scarlet have pretty great settings for the most part. There's a few that we've discussed that are a little bit lackluster. But what makes White as Snow work is that the setting that they've chosen, the submarine, ties in so perfectly with the character choices of Colonel White, and then the plot point of Colonel White on the run. Where does he go? Literally the opposite of where he normally is. He's normally up in the sky. Now he's under the sea. So it ties together perfectly. And it has, a chance for Captain Scarlet to be really heroic and use his power of retro metabolism.
Yeah.
And
No,
I love White as Snow.
Yeah. And the music track as well at the beginning as the radio station is crashing into or about to crash into Cloud Base. That's a great bit of Barry Gray pop music as well.
Yes.
Very, very memorable. Very
always a sucker for spaceships too. So always happy to have a spaceship in Captain Scarlet.
Absolutely.
Even if it's just a satellite.
Yeah. Now we've got 2 episodes left: Attack on Cloud Base and the Mysterons. I feel good about where we're at as far as what we've been left with. I think both of these make a lot of sense. And I will also say it's a big jump up to second place. Third place was at 28 votes. Second place is at 45. So there's a big jump up. A lot of people got behind these 2 episodes in particular.
Okay.
And I'm sure we'll get into why that is. But in second place, with 45 votes, 9.3% of the vote, it's Attack on Cloud Base. I mean, what is there to say about Attack on Cloud Base? Really?
I am going to anger everyone who is listening to this podcast.
Oh no.
I'm going to ruin our listener demographics.
Oh no.
And say that I really don't like this episode. Because it's all a dream.
Well, everyone, that was the Security Hazard show. It was good while it lasted, everyone.
We've reached the end.
I can no longer continue to make this show.
But it's all a dream. It's all a dream. None of it's real.
Ben, I know that's a problem. I know that's a whole issue with this.
That's a big problem.
It's a big problem.
It's
a big problem. You just don't watch the last 2 minutes. That's how you get around that.
Right.
You just don't watch it. You just pretend.
Yeah, if you chopped out those bits, then maybe I would like it better. But it's also, I wouldn't feel satisfied with it as a conclusion. Really?
I was trying to think about this last night, actually. I was like, if you knew you were going to get a second series of Captain Scarlet.
Oh, well, that's different.
As a cliffhanger to end the first season on or something.
Yeah. If it was
wouldn't that be amazing?
If it was a cliffhanger, it would be great. And a lot of the stuff, I don't hate this episode by any means. I think that all the stuff with Captain Magenta is brilliant. Yeah. All the stuff with Captain Scarlet, the flying saucers themselves look great. Yeah. I don't think the Mysterons would fly in flying saucers. I think that's a wrong move. No. It's obviously a dream sequence at that point.
Yes.
All the pink smoke and bits.
You think it's that obvious? No, you see, this is it. When I was a kid, I totally bought it all the way up until the reveal. At no point did I think, no, none of this isn't. None of this. This is all for real. Absolutely.
I'm curious if other people feel that way too. Yeah. Because
now, I think
never felt, because of the setup.
Yeah.
With what's her face in the desert.
Symphony. Yeah.
I knew that something was up from the beginning.
Yeah.
Watching it as a kid.
Now, I think possibly one significant contributor to this is the fact that when I would have first seen Attack on Cloud Base, it would have been a part of the Super Space Theater compilation movie, Captain Scarlet versus the Mysterons, in which they totally changed the ending, where they do not say this was all a dream, but instead show the Mysterons reversing time and saying, well, this is what we could have done, so you be careful now, because we'll do it again otherwise. I think that is really significant in how you enjoy this episode. So yeah, that's why I am able to just kind of ignore the whole "it was all a dream" thing and just say, nope, that's not necessarily saying, oh, this is what happened and this is how the series ends, but just I buy into the drama of it. So
yeah,
completely.
I think I would if it was presented as a cliffhanger, as you say. If the show ended on a cliffhanger, that would have been sort of the fulfillment of Jerry's ambition to do a kind of switch on the audience, of subverting audience expectations. Which, if you know about the history of Captain Scarlet, he pitched an idea of a detective series where the hero gets killed off halfway through the show. He was really interested in subverting audience expectations. And I think this could have been that, but it makes a few key compromises that just don't make it work for me.
Yeah.
So, but, you know, it definitely does nail the tone of like the war episode.
Yes.
It's quite similar to a Space 1999 episode called War Games.
Yes.
Which I also don't like that much.
Okay.
There's something about that.
I do quite like war games, actually.
There's something about the tone of like, we're just going to destroy everything. And you're like, oh, okay, this is not real. Because everything's being destroyed. It's just too obvious what they're doing, how they're manipulating the audience.
You know, that's interesting in relation to what Ben and I were talking about actually before we went live.
Isn't it?
Because the next episode of Space Precinct I'm due to start writing a review for is Time to Kill.
Right, which I do like.
Which you do like.
Yeah.
And
isn't that weird?
I'm going to hold back my judgment of until I write the review, so you have to stay tuned to that. But all very similar themes of they want the audience to believe that this is end of days, basically.
Yes. The
and it's how much do you buy into it? Very interesting. Right. Number one.
I think we're going to agree on this one more.
With 51 votes, 10.54% of the vote, it's episode 1, The Mysterons. I mean, a little bit so we can have a clearer look at this. There we go.
It's a great episode.
It is. It's an amazing first episode. In that it has so much to set up. You know, the whole concept of the Mysterons, the whole concept of Spectrum. You know, how Captain Scarlet is a hero, but he starts off as a baddie. Mm-hmm. All of that stuff to squeeze that into 25 minutes is truly extraordinary. It is one of the tightest scripts ever written for an Anderson show. Honestly, there is not an ounce of leftover flab on there. Everything is where it's supposed to be.
And this is credited to Jerry and Sylvia, this script?
Yep, Jerry and Sylvia wrote this one. And yet you still have, you know, the extensive Angel launch sequence, the exposition about the SPV, just all the little things just get their time, but it's just enough time. Obviously, the opening sequence on Mars is hugely significant. You know, it really feels like, okay, this is the kickoff for the whole show. So that feels special. I would say perfect episode, really. I can't fault it for anything.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue against it in some ways, but it's hard to do that because it does so much.
Right.
You could say, well, it doesn't give Captain Scarlet a chance to come to terms with his, but where would you fit that in?
Well,
I'm,
and that's why Winged Assassin works so well,
and that's
because
why
it
Winged
kind of
Assassin works so well with it.
picks up from
All
that.
the stuff that is kind of missing is in Winged Assassin.
Yeah.
With the possible exception of, you said that it sets up Spectrum. I'm not sure that I ever have understood, and people have tried to explain to me before what Spectrum do when they're not fighting Mistrons.
Right.
I guess it's like world security.
Yes,
but it's sort of vague for such a highly budgeted organization for me.
Yes,
I don't quite understand that bit, but that's okay because obviously their purpose in the show is to fight Mistrons, so that's okay.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think. Yeah, it's one of those things. If you think about it too hard, it doesn't quite make sense. But
yeah,
that question only really applies for the first few minutes of this episode, and then after that, you just go, well, that's what they do, is they fight Mistrons. That's why they're there. That being said, obviously Captain Black is sent to Mars on behalf of Spectrum to investigate the signals that they've been monitoring. So there obviously is something about Spectrum that was set up to, I guess, kind of like Shadow in UFO, to just be on the lookout for alien goings on, I suppose.
Now, because we have the MEV, the 0X, effectively in this, do you subscribe to the theory that this shares a universe with Thunderbirds? Is this the same 0X?
Well,
that we saw in Thunderbirds Argo?
I mean, you are supposed to think that. I think because the TV21 comic had been so well established at this point, they were like, we can merge these two together and everyone will subscribe to that. But I can't say that putting the two together enhances my enjoyment of one or the other. I don't think it makes much difference, really.
I have always viewed it with the perspective that it's a completely separate story.
Yeah.
That it's not actually connected, and they were just kind of reusing that model. Yeah. Because they had it in the studio.
Yeah.
That being said, I'm not trying to take away from anybody who does think that they all fit into one big story, because that's a perfectly valid way to enjoy the show. If you enjoy the show,
they can do, and I think that is important. I think for me, it's probably because I just understand how 60s TV was put together, and just knowing that they didn't really have anything like that in mind. Maybe in the comics they did, but I don't think that. I don't think Tony Barwick was sitting down to write an episode of Captain Scarlet thinking, what are International Rescue up to while all of this is happening? I don't think that was in his mind whatsoever. I think it was, I need to get this script finished as quickly as possible. Quick, let's have the Mistrons disappear into thin air. That sort of thing. It's just the pace of it. I just don't think it's as well thought out as that. But yes, I can see why you would think the two fit together, and I think that's perfectly valid. And credit to you if you can make that link in your head. Yeah. So there we are. That is our.
That's the list.
That is the viewer list of all 32 episodes of Captain Scarlet ranked and put together. What I will do now is I actually put out on social media just a quick poll, response asking people what their favorite episodes were. So I'm gonna dig into that a little bit here.
Goody.
Just so we know, just so we can test whether the data we have here from 2017, how well that sort of matches up with what people are saying now in
the present day.
I can't imagine it will have changed much, but here we go. So Nick Thorne on Facebook says it's so difficult to pick just one favorite episode, but he goes on to list several, which includes The Mistrons, Winged Assassin, Big Ben Strikes Again, White as Snow, Avalanche, The Trap, Special Assignment, Lunarville 7, Traitor, Fire at Rig 15, Flight to Atlantica. Dangerous Rendezvous, Noose of Ice, Inferno, Flight 104, Expo 2068, Attack on Cloud Base, and done.
All of those tied for first place.
Apparently so. I mean,
Amazing.
it's about half the series there. Fair enough. Right. Philip Cully says, honestly, tough to say a favorite episode. There are a lot of obvious ones like Attack on Cloud Base. But he says, oddly, my copy keeps cutting off at the last few minutes. But he also points out the Mistrons, Flight to Atlantica. He kind of likes Manhunt, even if it doesn't do Symphony Angel any favors. Susie Jones says Attack on Cloud Base. Tom Bright says Shadow of Fear.
Ooh.
Let's see. The Wilder Way says The Trap.
Okay.
Godzui, this is on Blue Sky, says Winged Assassin because it has Yellow Fox in it. And also the ending had them shook on first viewing, which I think is fair enough.
Yeah.
Simpsons Clips 24 says it's a tough one, but he's going to say Flight to Atlantica.
Okay.
And let's see, we've got a few more on Twitter. Let me see if I can bring this up. Okay. Manning Glover says Inferno because I like the recycled music from Thunderbirds. Let's see.
Hadn't thought about that. That's true.
At JK Mercury 9 says inclined to say Heart of New York. And Jim Smith says Place of Angels.
Wow.
And we've got more comments, more and more of them. Lots of people wanted to weigh in on this one. Penguin Made of Dynamite says there's too many to choose from. Manhunt is definitely up there as a really standout episode. Someone who enjoys the Angels at Work also says Model Spy and Seek and Destroy are some of their favorites.
Okay.
Class 87 Fan 54 says Lunarville 7 or Crater 101, but also says that The Launching and Flight 104 are guilty pleasures. Adam Luff says Traitor is a great one, but wish there was more runtime to flesh the story out. Big Ben Strikes Again is another winner for the atmosphere of the first half and the adrenaline rush of Scarlet getting back to the elevator at the end. And then Les Paul Davis says, I know it's not popular from a storytelling perspective, but I've always liked Expo 2068 for all the model effects, especially the Sky Crane helicopter. White of Snow is also a favorite, as is Avalanche and Noose of Ice. Is 4 too many? I think having 4 favorite episodes. It turns out having 4 favorite episodes is perfectly reasonable.
Yes.
So a lot of different favorites there, but definitely some names that come up quite regularly. Flight to Atlantica, definitely. People are saying, Ben, you need to go and rewatch that.
Right. Yeah. I'll have to put that towards the top of the list.
Yeah. Big Ben Strikes Again also got a lot of shout outs, so clearly we are underestimating that one. Really good mix there. So, okay.
It is a really good mix.
To kind of finish us up, if there were 3 things on this tier list that you could move, what would they be?
Only 3.
Yeah.
That's hard.
I mean, you mentioned Winged Assassin being...
Yeah, Winged Assassin should probably be up there instead of Big Ben Strikes Again. Apologies to Big Ben Strikes Again fans.
Yeah.
It's not as good as Winged Assassin in my book.
Yeah.
I really don't like Renegade Rocket. Where did that?
That is in the second
towards the bottom anyway.
Yeah. You can move it lower if you want to.
That's kind of unkind. I think I'll take Spectrum Strikes Back.
Okay.
And swap it with the Trap.
I'm actually going to do this for you. So we're going to put Winged Assassin there. We're going to put Big Ben Strikes Again there. What was the other one? Sorry, you just
Spectrum Strikes Back and swap it for the Trap.
All right. I think that was about right.
The Trap deserves to be higher.
Yeah. And then do you want to move Renegade Rocket down there?
I think I'm actually going to move Noose of Ice up
Noose of
and
Ice.
take
Okay.
Special Assignment down.
Oh yeah,
Because
I
that's
would.
in the wrong place.
Yeah. Those are all good shouts. I'm trying to think if there's any further adjustments I would make from my end.
Okay.
I wouldn't move Manhunt. I don't think I would put Manhunt to the top tier, but I
No?
would probably put it maybe here.
Okay.
No, ahead of
Alright.
Big Ben Strikes Again for sure. And I would
Yeah.
put Flight to Atlantica up a bit more as well. Um, is there anything else I would do? Let's
Anything
see.
down there in that like second to last tier, Model Spy, Spectrum?
I mean, I wouldn't.
Strikes Back, Expo
Okay,
2016.
I wouldn't have Spectrum Strikes Back down that low, but
Okay.
I will let you have that one.
That's very generous of you.
Maybe I would put Operation Time to the just to the top of that tier.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're being very nice.
I would hope that us having come up with this and the
Uh-huh.
viewers having had their say, that maybe this ranking is more universal. Maybe, I don't know.
Interesting. Let us know how we did.
Yeah. I'd be very interested to see what people think in response to this. But
Leave us a comment. Send us
yeah.
a message. Tell us if our ranking is sort of somewhere close to a more balanced ranking.
right.
than what turned up in 2017. As you say, that was the purpose of that, was to decide which episodes you would review.
Yeah.
So that may have weighed things a little bit.
May
terms
have done a little bit, but I
how
think
people
people definitely got close. I think they really got close to saying this is a ranking of all the episodes overall. Yeah, definitely. But there we go. That was every episode of Captain Scarlet reviewed and ranked.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you all very much for tuning in. Thank you for listening to the Security Hazard Show. We broadcast this live every single Wednesday, 6 p.m. UK time, on youtube.com/JackNoll. So if you're not listening live and you want to join in the conversation, then you absolutely can. Come and tune in live. You can subscribe on YouTube to get all sorts of other Jerry Anderson related videos coming from me as well. And you can also listen to this show on audio, all your favorite podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, that sort of thing. You can rate and review us there because that makes a big difference to us, helps us find a few more listeners along the way. Ben, what else can people do to kind of help us out, perhaps?
Well, they can go to patreon.com/securityhazard and they can give what they can, but only if they can. And in exchange for that, we offer some exclusive content on our Patreon page. There's something very exciting coming up later this month. I'm excited about it. I do a reading for you, my narrator voice. I do a reading from an out-of-print Jerry Anderson book. So you'll have to stay tuned later this month. That will be revealed on our Patreon page exclusively for our patrons. So come and join us over there and help support us, help keep the Security Hazard Show on the air.
Absolutely. Yes. And for everything else, head to securityhazard.net. That's your one-stop shop for videos, podcasts, blog posts. Right now I'm reviewing Space Precinct.
Woohoo!
Many people would rather I was reviewing Captain Scarlet, but that will come one day in the future, I promise. You can also, on there, you can find all my social media, links to Facebook, Twitter, Blue Sky, all of that on securityhazard.net. Ben, where can people find more of you?
I am reviewing Starfleet right now, episode by episode, and you can find that and the rest of my web projects at benwolf.page. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter. I'm at Supermarionation. I'm also at Supermarionation on YouTube. Please do subscribe there for some cool stuff. And I'm at benwolf page, where the skies are blue.
Exactly. Lovely
Captain
stuff. Well,
Captain Blue Sky.
Captain Blue Sky over there. Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you all very much for tuning in. It's been a great fun going through all these Captain Scarlet episodes with you. That's all for today's show. Thank you very much, and we will see you next time. Bye
Thank you,
for now.
everyone. Bye.